Hello, everybody, and welcome into fabulous Las Vegas. Making our stop tonight with FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series, making their first start in the round of 8. The fight for a championship and the battle of the playoffs continues here tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You're watching Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. Well, qualifying is complete. Anticipation continues to wrap up as really we've only got 2 races left after tonight before we, of course, get to our championship main event, if you will. And in the process of that, we still have to eliminate 4 drivers. And one way to keep yourself from being in that position is to get the job done and get a win here tonight. So let's get right down trackside as drivers, again, are getting gridded up and getting rolling and taking a look at tonight's starting grid. Sean Kaltenbach, one of the part-time starters of this season, he takes the pole, puts down a 29.229. Tyler Marble, one of your playoff drivers, starts to his outside in second. Jeff Shutt, who was eliminated last week, starts back in third. Quentin Clark, another one of your playoff drivers, he will roll off from fourth with Roger Shelton for No Excuses Racing, rounding out your top 5. Jacob Musso back in 6th. Jeff Marble, one of your playoff drivers, he will roll off 7th tonight. Greg Bartlett is outside in 8th. And then it's Brandon Saylor and Danny Gutierrez rounding out your top 10. Michael Mueller, Jared Bundy, those two will start back in row number 6. It's going to be Brian Conklin alongside the rookie GT Hawkins in row 7. Austin Fitzgerald, last week's winner, alongside his teammate Ty Iopolito. Those two in row 8 with Ryan Haynes, Christian Lodgson in row 9. And then Jeffrey Souza and Brett Spod rounding out your top 20. Scott Glasso, Matthew Gearinger, they'll start back in row 11. It's going to be Bill Benedict and Cody Matthews back in row 12. Row 13, going to be Andrew Russo, Johnny Mahalchuk, Kenneth Bartholomew, Kyle Oakley in row 14. Jake Hickson and Alan Bajari rounding out your top 30. Thomas O'Hara, Anthony Hanley, and Mark Sabak round out the 33-car field. Quick look at your race info. It is the Souza Media Las Vegas 200. 134 laps, 100% fuel, 4 sets of tires. No fast repairs, open setups as always. 3 green-white checkers if we need them. Beautiful weather outside, 10-mile-an-hour wind, and this 1.5-mile oval is going to be the track that we kick things off in the round of 8. Here we go. We are underway at Las Vegas. Lap 1 is complete, and it goes to the number 2 car of Sean Kaltenbach. He took the pole, and he is going to take the first couple laps, it looks like, leading this race. So right now he has already gave himself a little bit of wiggle room, about a 0.3 of a second gap, as Arrow's still fierce and racing hard behind him, still 2, even 3 wide. A little bit further back as there's a rookie, Brandon Saylor. Looked like he was debating making a bold move to the inside of his teammate, Jeff Marble. But he's going to quickly think better of it. By the way, the drivers that you see highlighted in purple on the left side there on that scoring tower, those are the drivers that, again, are currently still fighting for a championship and are still in the playoff. We are in the round of 8. We got 3 races in this round. Starts here tonight at Las Vegas. Next week it's off to Homestead. And Martinsville will be the cutoff race to advance to the championship 4, which, again, we know that race is going to be at Phoenix in just a few weeks' time. So here tonight, this is your chance, right? We think of a lot of drivers that are really good at this track. For Austin Fitzgerald, we'll start things off with him. It's his home track, so you got to think that with the momentum he's already got and it being a home track for one of the veterans of the series, this would be his track tonight to get the job done at. But he said he's not a big fan of mile and a half. Felt like his 2 rookie teammates, Ty Iopolito and Jake Hickson, are a little bit better than him here. In fact, if you remember all the way back to the start of the season, it was actually Jake Hickson who almost made it 3 wins in a row to start the season if he could have got the job done here at Las Vegas. Unfortunately, he just couldn't quite make it happen. Instead, finished runner-up. And so now, for the 16, the question is, can he get a little bit of redemption here tonight and get himself, again, locked into that next round? 5 laps already in the book of 134. Jeff Shutt trying to creep in and close that door just a little bit now. And, of course, for Jeff Shutt, a little bit of heartbreak after last week. Had a lot of people out rooting for him, but the No Excuses Racing driver just couldn't quite slither his way, into the next round. And so, while he's still racing for trophies, his run for a championship has come to an end a little bit earlier than he would like, but still a good season. Of course, advancing to the round of 12 is certainly something that you can't scoff at if you're that driver. 72 of Johnny Mahalchuk, of course, having a lot of momentum to build off. They picked up Roger Shelton, so I mean, as a team, no excuses racing. I think this season in general has got to kind of feel like a win, even if for Jeff Shutt, last week, of course, felt like a pretty big loss. Nonetheless, though, he's got a good run going right now. Further back, still 2x2. Tyler Marble on the inside. Danny Gutierrez on the outside. Tyler's got a teammate behind him. GT Hawkins still on the outside. And what's so fun about Vegas is how many lanes you can make work and just how fast this track is, especially on new tires and these restarts, especially late race restarts. But even right now, I mean, we looked at track temp, all things considered, wasn't really all that hot. We'll pull up the dashboard speed, show you the weather again. I mean, well under 100 degrees, as we're going to see a little bit 3-wide action here now as they work through 3 and 4. That's Gutierrez shooting the gap on the inside. He'll be able to get around the 95 of Jacob Musso. GT Hawkins has to take the long way around, but he gets it done on the outside. So now that puts the 95 of Jacob Musso back to that 8th spot. He'll try to tuck in line here in front of Jeff Marble. Not sure if he's quite going to be able to squeeze in that gap here. And no, he won't. Saw right there for Jeff Marble. He was able to go ahead and fill it in, and now it's Tyler who's going to try to get pushed by the 95 here through 3 and 4. And so it'll be just 9 of 134 laps complete. Musso's still fighting pretty hard here on the outside. We talk about these two being the main battle, but really it goes all the way back. It's just kind of these two being the catalyst that spark all this 2x2 action. And while it is early here, let's hop on board with the number 37 of Brian Koch. Going to watch his view through this. Right now on the inside, you can hear those tires scrubbing. I don't know if it's going to be so much these cars getting loose that's going to be the issue. I think it depends on kind of what lane and what line you're running. I think if you're Brian Conklin with where he's pinned right now, he would have to potentially worry about this car getting tight over time, but we'll see if he can maybe find a way to either get single file here or slot up in front of one of these other guys and get on the outside. And everybody has a preferred groove they like to run. Again, there's some bumps down here, 1 and 2. You just saw Conklin go over those right there as you saw the driver camera kind of bouncing around a little bit. Those bumps, you know, we talk about these cars getting tight. Those bumps can do either or. Depending on, again, how the car is set entering the corner, those bumps can get you really loose and really out of shape, or they can get you really tight, get that splitter bottoming out, and send you up the racetrack. That would not be a good thing if you're stuck side-by-side. Speeds well over 185 miles an hour at top here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. One of the tracks that has been around pretty much every season of the sport and of the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series season. Usually make 2 stops out of the season. Of course, one early on and then one here late in the playoffs. As we turn our attention back towards the front, Sean Kaltenbach. And I'll tell you what, I've seen the 2-car go with this strategy before, and I'm not saying it's not going to work, because as it stands right now, he's got a 2.5-second gap. I mean, that is a huge margin over anybody else. I mean, to find Jeff Shutt, you got to look all the way almost to a different camera angle, as Kaltenbach's working on a 2. Shutt's pretty much just getting to the middle of the corner. But the point I'm trying to make here is, for Sean Kaltenbach, we've seen something similar to this before for this 2-car. Fires off really, really well. I'm talking rocket speed, and we're seeing that right now. But you got to wonder, is the trade-off that maybe he's really wearing these tires out, and he will wear these tires out a lot quicker than everybody else. If that's the case, don't be surprised to see that what right now is a 2.5 to 3 second gap start to wear itself back down and get reeled in pretty quickly. Although right now, at least for the 2-car, seems like he is still running very, very good pace. You wonder if Jeff Shutt kind of in a similar position here as the 2 of Sean Kaltenbach, trying to just run kind of as hard as he can right now, as there's the driver cam for Jeff Shutt, and seeing if he can get up there and fight for some clean air. And it might be working here. That gap that was extending is starting to kind of flatten out now. Now, how far these guys can go on fuel here and run, that's going to be a pretty big question in and of itself. You figure, I wouldn't be shocked if they could run, I would say, anywhere up to even 60 laps potentially. You got to get to 65 probably if you want to make this thing on a 1-stop. That's going to be pushing it. And even 65, now that I'm thinking about it, still wouldn't quite be a 1-stop. So I'm thinking there might very well be 2 stops in this race. That would be assuming that it goes green all the way, of course, but if not, and of course some things will change from there, and we'll get to that point, or we'll cross that bridge when we get to that point, rather. But Kaltenbach still out in front, pure dominance right now, as Jeff Marble continues to be the highest running playoff driver in the field at this point. Currently sits in 6th, again running just behind the 08 here of Danny Gutierrez. Quentin Clark, another one of your playoff round of 8 drivers. Him and his teammate Michael Mueller sitting inside the top 10 early. For Clark, he's dropped 3 spots. For Mueller, he's picked up 2. Brandon Saylor, the rookie for Team Marble iRacing, kind of in the sandwich right there between those 2 cars. And you've got Tyler Marble back in 11th. He's down 9 spots from where he started. Christian Lodgen in 12th. Jared Bundy's in 13th. Ryan Haynes back in 14th. And you've got Brian Conklin 15th. Jeffrey Souza, sponsor of tonight's race. Again, Souza Media. Make sure you go check them out. They do have a website. Link is in the description to the video. But I know the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series certainly appreciates Souza Media for hopping on. And if you need any media needs, Souza Media is going to have you covered on that in terms of anything surrounding the racetrack. So again, make sure that you do check them out. We appreciate them sponsoring tonight's race. The Souza Media Las Vegas 200 so far off to a great and a clean start. Important thing to note there. The other big storyline, if you remember when we were leaving the track and ending the broadcast last week, was who was going to take that final position. We were a little unsure on if it was going to be the 4 of Scott Glasso, or if instead it was going to be the 07 of Thomas O'Hara. Now, I know for Scott Glasso it says round of 12. That's what initially we had expected. Thought O'Hara may have snuck in, but no. It was Glasso who had the good run and was able to actually be the one that snuck in to that final spot here in the round of 8. So I know it says round of 12. That will be corrected next week. But you do still see that P next to his name, and you see that he is still one of the drivers highlighted in purple on the left side of your screen. And again, that is because Scott Glasso is still a driver fighting for a championship. He did advance to the round of 8. Ryan Haynes for BMP here, going to try to take a look to the outside of Brian Conklin. Ryan, as always, one of the drivers that's carrying an onboard view for us. And as he tries to work his way around the outside here, notice how much more momentum he gets on the straights. That's really kind of the big question here tonight. We saw it in the real-life race, and I think we'll see it again here, even in the sim, is which lane are you willing to give up? And I think if you give up that outside, that's where it's going to be most vulnerable at, especially as the run starts to go on and you really these tires start to wear out, because you figure when you're on the inside, the driver on your outside has the opportunity to kind of pin you down there. And in fact, we see Ryan Haynes going to go around Christian Lodgen here. But if you're pinned on the inside, you're going to get loose if you don't bail out of the throttle. If you're on the outside, not only can you carry a little bit more throttle in general, but you've also got some racetrack to work with if you lose some momentum or slip up and have to move up. So I think that that's going to, again, kind of be the preferred lane by most drivers, especially as the run goes on. But it's all about where you feel like your car handles best at. And right now for Lodgen, I don't know if he's figured it out. The car is still kind of all over the place here. The different lines he's trying to find. For Austin Fitzgerald, down 2 spots from where he started this race at. Talked about him being the Las Vegas native. And his teammate Jake Hickson, right now running 17th and 18th. And then Kyle Oakley, one of the last 2 remaining cars still inside your top 20. As there's Ty Iopolito back in 21st. Johnny Mahalchuk 22nd. And you've got Andrew Russo 23rd, Alan Pajari 24th, and Brett Spod currently back in 25th. Kenneth Bartholomew 26th, Greg Bartlett 27th. And you've got Cody Matthews back here in 28th. Finding out the top 30 here tonight, Mark Sabak and Bill Benedict, as those two getting a little side by side here. Meanwhile, back to the front we go. For Kaltenbach, the gap has closed in just a little bit, but he has still got himself a pretty good lead here on the rest of the field. Problem now is GT Hawkins. He started to turn up the heat a little bit here on second place Jeff Shutt. And that means that Hawkins, I think, has probably saved enough tire that he feels like it's go time. And once they get around that 27 to Shutt, I think it's going to all of a sudden be really starting to close the distance here. And so for Kaltenbach, you wonder, will he make an adjustment, or is this just the way he set his car up? You figure if we had, heck, I don't know, maybe 25 laps to go in a race, I think this is the strategy, the one that Kaltenbach's done here, where you just go out and rip it as hard as you can for pretty much every lap. But when you still know that you got a really long run to go, I mean, you know, you figure you go out there, you push the tires that hard, it's great, you get a big lead and all, but he's going to get past here, I would think, probably within, if I had to guess, the next 10, 15 laps max. I don't even know if it'll take that long. And then once he gets past, it'll be just dropping like a rock from there until we get to this first kind of break in the action, or more importantly, green flag pit stop, if you will. You can't assume a caution, even at a track like Vegas, because once things start to get split up here, it can start to clean up really, really nicely, as GT Hawkins has now made his way up to that second spot. And so now that he's got a little bit cleaner air, he's going to set his sights on tracking down that number 2 car, the man who sat on the pole. GT Hawkins, though, has been the man on the move. He's up 12 spots from where he started this race at. Breaks the cushion just a little bit right there. He gets in the wall, and look at this. Jeff Shutt going to try to take advantage back here. Will he be able to do it? Yes, he will. Jeff Shutt's going to take that spot right back from GT Hawkins. And while they are all still catching, the two of Sean Kaltenbach, whatever battling they can do, helps Kaltenbach out just a little bit, as the gap from first to second has now trimmed down to just over a second and a half. And so for Sean Kaltenbach here, I mean, does he try to make an adjustment, or does he just keep doing what he's doing? He sees him racing out back, but he knows that, I mean, he can't run any faster at this point. It's more or less just trying to run as fast as you can with what you've got. As you see him single filing out now, the further back you go, a little bit of 2x2 action still between the number 90 Lego Ford Mustang of Bill Benedict and the number 9 Michelob Ultra of Mark Zabak. Chevy versus Ford battle. Looks like it'll single out with Zabak getting the best of Benedict right here. Then a little bit further up here, we still have a lot of 2x2, especially in the middle portions of this pack. Back for the top 10 there. Looked like that was Michael Mueller, now Quentin Clark, who's side by side here with the 24 of Brandon Saylor. Saylor's going to try to hold him on the outside here. Can he do it? Yes, he can. Quentin Clark got a little bit loose, but at the same time, Saylor got a little bit tight. Looked like he may have tapped the outside wall. Kaltenbach now ahead by just a second. Jeff Shutt continues to close. You look at the onboard view, he can see that 2-car slowly but surely getting bigger and bigger in his windshield. And boy, Kaltenbach got around the 27. Pretty quick work, but after he hit the wall just about a lap later, they're coming off a 2. That car's not looked the same. And I wonder, you know, maybe he got a little bit of damage on the right front, but, I mean, even if he did, first of all, I can't even tell if he did. More importantly, it shouldn't affect this car that bad. I just wonder if we're still kind of seeing that battle unfold of who used their stuff up too much here early on. And right now, it seems like Kaltenbach, he certainly has, as he continues to fall back to this group. Jeff Shutt maybe doing the best of them right now, but here comes Jeff Marble and Danny Gutierrez. And for Jeff Marble, we call him one of the kings of the long run, and for good reason. He knows how to save tire, knows how to make a setup that's good on old tire. And right now it's paying off here as he's going to fight to see if he can get this final podium position away from GT Hawkins. There's GT Hawkins, look from the left front. Ooh, you hear him getting to the outside wall again. This time he's going to have to give up 1, maybe 2, yeah. At least 2, maybe even 3 spots here as Roger Shelton goes around. So for Hawkins here, he's got to be a little frustrated with himself. These small mistakes starting to cost him more and more time, as for Jeff Shutt, he is now closed into within half a second of your leader. And the question now is, what does Sean Kaltenbach do when he gets there? Because he knows right now, looking out his rearview mirror, that he is going to get there. Does he try to fight him pretty aggressive for it? Does he let him go? Does he try to take away the line? What does he do? I just don't know if there's anything he can do. I mean, look at the run for Jeff Shutt. He's running in the same wake and everything. That just shows you that he's got that much better tires right now than this 2-car. So for Sean Kaltenbach here, he'll continue to run it hard as long as he can. Again, still either hoping for a caution or just to survive to that first green flag pit stop. Here's the run from Jeff Shutt as he'll peek to the inside here off into turn 1. Over the bumps he goes. Can he get clear? Yes, he does with assertiveness. Jeff Shutt will take that spot away from Sean Kaltenbach. And for the first time here tonight, we have a new leader. Kaltenbach falls to second. Jeff Marble starts to close up. He'll be looking to take advantage as well. But it's Jeff Shutt, who again, after last week getting eliminated from the round of 12, is trying to get some redemption here tonight, grabbing his first race win of the season if he got the job done. He's still got a lot of racing to go and a lot of really, really strong cars to fend off. Team Marble iRacing still looking the best so far here tonight, as those two teammates are running the highest of any of the playoff drivers. Then it's Riot Motorsports with Mueller 8th, Clark in 10th. And contrary to what a lot of drivers probably expected, it is Dynamic Autosports that, at least right now, seems to be the team that is currently struggling the most of everybody in this field. Scott Glasso, the only driver on the team/independent, whatever you want to call it, that he is on right now, has himself kind of in the middle of all these guys, in the middle of the mix. And for Fitzgerald, he can afford to have some bad runs here. Some of these other drivers, such as Glasso, he can't. Glasso needs pretty much a perfect night here just to get himself back in the conversation, much less in a good position to advance. As remember, if you barely squeak into the round of 8, then that means you're going to be kind of nowhere near being in the round of 4, at least for this first race. So as we now hit 35 of 134 laps complete, Jeff Shutt does continue to lead with Jeff Marble. He is now closed into 2/10. Ooh, Marble chose the high side. Thought for a minute there he may have jumped the cushion, but that's just the line that it looks like Jeff's car likes right now. See if he runs the same in 3 and 4, or if he decides to take it back down to the bottom here. Looks like he's still running up top by the wall. Found a little something up there. I kind of figured we'd see drivers migrate around this racetrack. Thought maybe it'd be the middle and the bottom that were favorable early, and then that top later. It's exactly what Jeff Shutt is showing right now. Doesn't have to worry about the bumps either through 1 and 2 by running up there, but you wonder how long can that car hold speed up here. I mean, I know he gets some momentum on the straights, but I got to feel like he's burning a little bit more tire, and seemed like was catching there for a minute, and now all of a sudden it's kind of flattened back out, and Jeff Shutt has maybe even started to pull away here again just a little bit. And so did Jeff Shutt find the clean air at the perfect time? That'll be the question, as we're going to take our first commercial break tonight. Stick with us. We'll be right back here at Las Vegas. Welcome back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the Souza Media Las Vegas 200 here for the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series. And while we were over break, you saw it all, but what you didn't see was a pass for the lead. That's because we didn't have one. Jeff Shutt, after Marbles seemed like he was starting to close it up, is getting kind of flattened it out now. No real gain or loss at the moment, so Jeff Shutt, car continues to look good here through the middle portions of the run. I wouldn't say we're quite to the latter stages just yet, as again, we expect that first green flag stop. At least, I know this window's a little broad, but to play it safe, I would say anywhere between 55 to 65 would be my general guess, depending on how much you're saving. Maybe you stretch that a little closer to 70, although it looks like you'd have to make it to at least lap 67 to make this thing a one-stop run. I just don't realistically know if anybody can make it that far. Further back, we still got some battling going on here. This is the battle for the 8th position here. GT Hawkins in the middle. Whoa, man, that 5 car started to slide up the racetrack as Jeffrey Souza in the 96 was flying by on the outside. Boy, that could have been really close. Mueller stuck on the inside here trying to get by, but nowhere to go yet. We'll see if he's going to get a little bit of help here. Ooh, never mind. Thought the 95 of Musso was going to go with them. Instead, they'll both dive low, as now they're going to try to split the 5 of Hawkins. Both the inside, the outside. Bundy and Glasso get clear. Fitzgerald, though, one car in that situation that was not quite able to get himself clear. And for Fitzgerald, right now he sits in that 13th spot. Currently just in front of GT Hawkins. There's a roll bar view, and I mean, being trapped in traffic certainly doesn't help anything, but if you don't have a car that's, you know, set up for necessarily the long run, that's going to make things even harder. So not just for Fitzgerald, but everybody back there, I would kind of expect it to get even tougher each lap we go by here to make passes and make things happen. And for a lot of drivers, it makes me wonder, does that mean you try something with the pit strategy, right? I mean, if you figure, let's say you know you're going to have to make this race a two-stopper. Again, we're not sure yet. If drivers can make it to lap 67, they'll make it on just a one-stop. However, if you have to make this race on a two-stop, does that mean maybe you try to pit a little early? Maybe you try to split this thing into thirds, or maybe you try to run one of these runs really short so you can burn the tires off, the other two a little bit longer? That's going to be the question where strategy play comes in. So far, I haven't seen that yet. We'll see if that changes, but we did have a couple of moments here I wanted to look at for a few drivers, and not sure exactly what happened on really any of these here. First one, this was back earlier in the race, but watch Kyle Oakley here and Christian Lajgen. 17. Not sure if he got loose or what, but he's going to go through the grass. It's a full detour here before he finally gets himself back on track. He's able to get back rolling. Watch that again here. And for Oakley, does he just get loose? Or does he have a separate issue here? Yeah, 17's just loose. Yeah, you see him wheeling it there off the corner, trying to hang on. Just can't quite do it, but does use the grass to avoid any further issue. And then Christian Lajgen, did he have a brief moment of his own here? Yes, he did. Pretty much following in the tire tracks just about of Kyle Oakley's similar issue. So while we kind of thought maybe looseness wasn't going to be an issue tonight, that is already 2 drivers now that have had an issue specifically off of turn 4. So we'll be keeping an eye on that to see if that issue persists. But it seems like Kyle Oakley was able to get it back together pretty quick. Still up 5 positions from where he started this race at, so clearly didn't lose too much, all things considered. And then going through some of the rest of our driver cams here tonight that we haven't got to just yet. How about Jeff Marble for Team Marble iRacing? Currently sits in second. He's up 5 spots from where he started this race at. We've mentioned it a few times, but again, he is currently the highest running playoff driver in the field here tonight as he sits in that second spot. But just a little bit of work left to do. That would be trying to go catch your leader, Jeff Shutt, who sits about 0.8 a second ahead of Jeff Marble for the time being. And then we go a little bit further towards the back of the field where we find For No Excuses Racing, Johnny Mahalchuk, who currently sits in 19th. So not all that far back for Johnny. He's up 7 spots from where he started this race at. Jeff Shutt, his teammate, we know is, of course, up front leading the race right now. And then the other driver cam that we have yet to look at here tonight is Tyler Marble in the 48. Another one of your playoff drivers that made it to the round of 8. He currently sits in 6th. And so for Tyler here, I think he's one of those cars that's just kind of okay with maybe where they're sitting for now. And wait until we get to this first green flag pit stop to try to make some changes, potentially make some adjustments. So it's 51 laps complete. Now I haven't noticed anybody really saving any fuel yet here, at least from any of the onboard views that I've been looking at. And again, to make this a one-stopper, they'd have to still go realistically probably about another at least 10, probably 16 laps or so from now. I mean, that'd be my best guess, at least, if they want to make this a one-stopper. But if you're going to make it 2, then you can go in a course any time from now and be plenty good without having to worry about too much strategy. But, man, I'm telling you, I would think, I mean, if I'm a driver on track, that if I'm seeing everybody stay out to this point, that maybe there were some drivers who felt like they could, maybe more than just some. We'll see. As Jeffrey Souza, man, he has been tearing through the field. How about this? What if he got his first win of the season in his own sponsored race? Souza Media, Jeffrey Souza, has himself currently up 15 positions from where he started this race at. And what's so incredible about that isn't just the fact that he's up 15 spots. More so, at least to me, it's the fact that he's still moving up, even though he's already up 15 spots. Because you got to remember, with the way these cars work and the way the tires wear at this track, for most guys, if we see them make up anywhere near that many positions, they're done. They've used up their stuff to get there, and they're not looking to go any further. But for Jeffrey Souza, who's in 4th, he's knocking on the back door here of Quentin Clark. Quentin Clark's bumper, and, I mean, man, he might have a chance to get to the podium here before we get to this first green flag stop. Meanwhile, for Jeff Shutt, And the situation he's in right now, he likes where he's at. Obviously, he's a second ahead of second place, but for him, he's got to be wondering, what if, right? What if this race would have been last week? And even tonight, he's going to be wondering what if, in the sense of, can he get to victory lane? And if so, he's going to be saying, man, if it could have just been a race sooner, or if he could have somehow clawed his way into this round, he could have had a chance to fight for the championship if he would have been, of course, getting himself locked in here tonight. Nonetheless, for Jeff Shutt, it's all about trophies now. Fitzgerald, Tyler Marble, side by side now is Fitzgerald. He is now up to 6, so all of a sudden, the last handful of laps or so, maybe Fitzgerald has started to turn on the gas a little bit more. The 74 is now up 9 positions from where he started this race at. Here we go, going to see our first round of pit stops here. Jeff Marble and multiple others here. Looks like Tyler, Jared Bundy, Jake Hickson, and Roger Shelton have decided to pit. Here comes Andrew Russo and Matthew Geiringer as well. And so by them pitting where they decided to pit here, this should take them, if they decide to run the next stop just as long, to probably somewhere right around lap 110, 112, somewhere in that range. And so the questions of, can they make this race a one-stopper, it appears will have been answered now, with Tyler Marble leading him in. He took 4 in fuel. He should, or excuse me, it's actually Jeff Marble that let him in, so he should lead him back out. And then Tyler, see if he can get out second or third here. They get out pretty good as well. Greg Bartlett, Kyle Oakley, a few others here going to make their stops, as it looks like, for the most part, clean pit stops here. Did have a brief lockup here for Glasso. Did he have an issue? Really big lockup there. Maybe a little bit of contact, and then, swerves into the grass just a little bit, but I think he's okay. As we see Austin Fitzgerald, he decided to pit with Glasso. Multiple others have as well. So this is just about all of your leaders, at least for the most part. There goes Quentin Clark. As we see some of the cars starting to work back out now. But it's Jeffrey Souza. See, he's got the Souza Media paint scheme on the side too, with the black and purple there. As it stands, he currently sits as your leader, but we know he's going to have to make a pit stop in for the 96. I mean, I'm kind of curious about the strategy call. It's interesting because the 96 seems like he was the car that was the most on the move of anyone, especially late in that run, and now he'll have the freshest tires of any of the leaders. So how does he take advantage of those? Does he decide to try to push the pace early on? Does he stick with the same and hope that at the end of the run these guys start to kind of come to him? Or does he try to maybe stretch the fuel? I mean, he's going to be hitting lap 60 here. I'd be amazed if this 96 car keeps it going for too many more laps here, because we know he's certainly losing a lot of time each lap that he stays out, but the 96, at least for the moment, will continue to ride around this 1.5 mile oval that we see known as Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And for Souza, I was hopping on board here and trying to take a look at who else we had pit. A lot of drivers, again, have already made their stop. That's put quite a few of them a lap down. Now, they will be fighting to get their lap back pretty soon, but the big story for now continues to be, when will Jeffrey Souza bring it down for pit? So you see Ryan Haynes, GT Hawkins, Jeff Marble, Jeff Shutt, all were within the same straightaway as Jeffrey Souza. So again, he won't be able to hold on to that lap from these guys for too long, as it is now 61 of 134 laps complete. 6 to go for Souza, if he can make it that far, to be able to make this race on a one-stopper. And heck, even if, I mean, you know, with as much as he was climbing through the field, I would almost argue that even if he makes it to, I don't know, 65, 66, maybe he can save enough on this second round to kind of make up for that deficit. And you got to remember, for Souza, I think if he can make it on fuel, then everybody else and their strategies don't even really matter. Because again, if Souza can make it on a one-stop, that's probably 30 to 40 seconds that he'll have over everybody else. So he can afford to take it a little bit slower. And I was watching some of the other drivers who might be on a similar strategy here. Alan Bajari currently sits in second for Dynamic Autosports, not looking for anything special here in terms of playoff standings, but Ty Iopolito, his teammate, certainly is. Ty in third, maybe on the same strategy. Johnny Mahalchuk, we saw him try a fuel-saving strategy at Kansas just a couple weeks back. And you've got Cody Matthews in fifth, Kenneth Bartholomew sixth, as Danny Gutierrez and looks like Bill Benedict have decided now that they will bring it down to the pits for full service. Jeffrey Souza still has not came in just yet. 63 of 134 laps now complete as he works his way on to Neil straightaway. For Souza, if he doesn't peel down this time, I'm going to make a bold call and say he's committing to it. Is the 96 checking up here? Yes, he is. Jeffrey Souza is going to bring it down. 63 coming to lap 64. Boy, I'll tell you what, that is still pretty close. Now, again, I'm not sure just how much he was saving during that run, but for Jeffrey Souza to make it as far as he did, 64 of 134 laps, that puts him, if he goes the same distance on the next one, that puts him 3 laps short of making it to the end of the race. Now, can he save that? I would think so. But again, you got to wonder about how much speed you lose in the process. For now, though, he'll worry about taking 4 tires, filling it up with gas, and Taio Polito maybe in an even better position here than the 96 of Jeffrey Souza. Ty, though, he's going to bring it down to his pit box now. And again, this will be for full service. We'll just have to see where Jeffrey Souza cycles out at. Looks like the 96 is cycled out to 16th for now. And all that leaves out on the racetrack is Johnny Mahalchuk. And for Johnny here, so far, he has stretched it the farthest of anybody else. Now, of course, that gap relative to where he's actually going to run is very important. But for now, we're going to keep in mind that Johnny Mahalchuk is going to run this thing to at least 65 to 66 laps, as he is really coasting through the corners here. Let's see, is he going to pit? Looks like he is. I was trying to figure out if he was sputtering here. Doesn't look like it. Looks like, at least for now, he's okay. So he'll drive it to his box for 4 tires and fuel. And so now that puts Johnny Mahalchuk as the closest driver to making it on fuel. He's about 2 to 3 laps short. Let's see, it'll be coming to 66. So yeah, he's more like 2 laps short. And that's still close enough to where I would say it is potentially possible. Ryan Haynes now being scored as your leader, but Jeff Marble only about 1.2 seconds back. He'll be looking to change that strategy, and I guess I should say change the lead change, if you will, here shortly. Jeff Shutt, who we saw leading before the round of pit stops, currently finds himself back in the 3rd spot, 2nd relative to this battle. And so if you're Jeff Marble, how hard do you fight here to try to fend off the 27? That's going to be the question for them, as they know they're committed on a 2-stop. So it's all about racing for a position. And if you're Johnny Mahalchuk, Taio Polito, or Jeffrey Souza, it's all about, can you save enough fuel to make it all the way to the finish, assuming, of course, that we don't have a yellow. That can, of course, change everything, as we are now officially halfway through this 200-mile, 134-lap event. And it is still Ryan Haynes who leads in front. Jeff Marble 2nd, Jeff Shutt 3rd, GT Hawkins 4th, Tyler Marble rounding out your top 5. We're going to take another break. Stick with us. We'll be back at Las Vegas. Welcome back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 74 of 134 laps complete in the Souza Media Las Vegas 200. You saw the lead change, and then you saw the second lead change while we were on break. First it was Jeff Marble taking it from Ryan Haynes, and now it's Jeff Shutt who has taken it away from Jeff Marble. So far, so good for this 27 team, and the job they've done tonight is pretty much everything you can ask for. Jeff Marble's going to continue to run him hard here, though, for the rest of this race, because remember, for Jeff Shutt, it's the first win of the season. For Jeff Marble, it's a win that will lock him in to the championship four. This is going to be a good battle pretty much all the way to the finish of this race. Now, we know for these two, really everybody up here towards the front, still a pit stop, right? We know that they're not good to go all the way to the finish yet. Now, we do still have a couple of drivers that we think may very well potentially be good to go to the finish. And those drivers, we'll go back and take a look at how they're doing, are currently sitting a lap down. By how much, though, is the question. Well, for Tai Iopolito here, in fact, we'll let this fall back just a little bit more. Tai Iopolito, who sits in 30th. Let's see where he's at, because he's... I'm sure if that is he a full lap down here? I believe he is. Yeah, Iopolito must have had an issue on the pit stop. He should not be a lap down. In fact, he's getting ready to go 2 down here. Meanwhile, Johnny Michalchuk, one of the drivers who we saw going late, and in fact now arguably the only driver that could potentially make this strategy work, well, him and of course Jeffrey Souza. For Johnny Michalchuk, though, he went in on lap 65 coming to 66. So it's going to be really, really close, and I mean really close for this 72 car, and we'll have to see how far he tries to stretch it. But you figure if he falls a lap down here, which he very well might before we see that group make another pit stop, I just don't know if the strategy is going to work out, even if he can make it on fuel. I would think maybe he gave up just a little bit too much time, but I guess it all just depends on how much he's got to save and how much further back he's going to have to fall. Whereas, you know, you have Jeff Marble, Jeff Shutt, who you know are running as hard as they can each and every lap. GT Hawkins, good recovery from him through that first pit stop after the issues earlier with how much he was getting into the outside wall. Now, I know we're still pretty short on this second run so far, only about, for most drivers, well, actually, I take that back. For the drivers who pit late, it's about 10 laps in. For the drivers who pit early, Jeff Marble, Jeff Shutt, we're getting closer, and actually have surpassed 20 laps since they made that pit stop. And so I would expect to see them run it to maybe somewhere right around lap 110 at the latest, and then maybe they pit with 25, 20 to go, and set yourself up for a run to the finish. As Jeffrey Souza, who made the latest pit stop of all these guys inside the top 10, has also been continuing to work his way to the front. Right now he's in 4th, and remember, big advantage here for Souza is that he's got much fresher tires. So I think, honestly, for Jeffrey right here, he's got a couple options. I mean, if he's able to go up here and run down the leaders, then there may be no point for him in trying to risk the fuel strategy. If he can just stay on fresher tires for the rest of this race than everybody else, then he might be okay to just stop one more time and still be able to have more pace at the end of this race. However, if maybe Souza feels like he can't quite get there, he's also in a position to maybe try to see if he can stretch it on fuel. At least that would be my guess. And as it stands, Souza is about 4 seconds behind your leader, Jeff Shutt. So he's still got some work to do, but he still has a fair amount of time to do it with only 80 of 134 laps complete now. By the way, if you're just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. Again, you're watching the Souza Media Las Vegas 200. And I do want to update everybody here on what the points were looking like coming into this race here tonight. We talked about it being the round of 8. So how are the round of 8 drivers sorted? Well, it's Austin Fitzgerald who currently leads the standings. Tyler Marble 2nd. Jay Kickson in 3rd. Jeff Marble 4th. Quentin Clark in 5th. Tai Iopolito 6th in the standings with Michael Mueller 7th. And Scott Glasso currently 8th in the round of 8. And remember, it's going to go and eventually turn into the championship 4. 3 races to decide who those final 4 are. So right now, the drivers on the cut line, Jeff Marble, Quentin Clark. Jeff 1 point above, Quentin Clark 1 point below. And both of those drivers having good runs so far here tonight. I think Austin Fitzgerald, arguably really the only driver who I would say is safe, if you will. And that may even be a little bit too much of a word to use, but I should say he's safe as long as he has no major hiccups in this round. 10th place run tonight, a decent run next week, and a decent run at Martinsville, which is a track he likes. That should be good enough for this 74 to get the job done. Tyler Marble, he's in the next best position, but still not safe. And then, of course, Jake Hickson and Jeff Marble, both just 1 point to the good. And that is 4 really hungry drivers that are just below the cut line that could win any one of these races. And that includes Michael Mueller, Scott Glasso, Taio Polito, and Quentin Clark. And so we'll see how it fares out. But as it stands right now, Dynamic Autosports, 2 of their drivers would advance to the championship 4, and Team Marble iRacing, 2 of their drivers would advance to the championship 4 as well. Remaining races in the season, I know we mentioned it, but just in case you missed it, next week it's off to Homestead, Miami for 134 laps around that mile and a half. And then it's to the short track Martinsville for 250 laps around the paperclip. And then they end the season. We duel in the desert at Phoenix Raceway for the championship. That race will be 156 laps. And the non-playoff driver points battle right now is being led still by Christian Losgen, but it's really close between him and Brandon Saylor. Only a separation right now of 2 points. So we'll see how those two continue to battle and if things continue to close up. Either way now, back up front, back to the action on track. Jeff Shutt still leading the way now with 85 of 134 laps complete. Jeff Marble in second as he has fallen to about a second behind. That number 27 car, Jeffrey Souza, is now up to third. And look at that gap between him and the leader, 2.5 seconds. I mean, you know, we've seen glimpses here and there of Jeffrey Souza with some good runs. But really, at least in my mind, nothing as what we are seeing here tonight. I mean, this guy's on a mission for a driver, especially not in the playoffs. He looks like he's got some fight. Like he wants to go out there and win a championship, even though he's not eligible for one. With the speed he's got right now on board this 96 car. Maybe not the best in the short run, but it's certainly been fast on the long run. And he's used that to his advantage along with strategy play to get himself into the position he's at now. And I know we're closing in here on the lap 100 mark, which will signal 34 to go once we get there, but there's still plenty of time. And I think if you're Souza here, you realistically want to try to get this gap. Man, it'd be great for him if he could get it within a second before that next round of pit stops, but I think he's got to get it at least under 2 seconds to have a chance. And does he flip the script? Does he try to go in early, or does he go in late again, or does he maybe match these guys? Try to go in the same lap as Jeff Shutt and Jeff Marble. That's going to be the big question here. And for Jeff Shutt, I mean, I think he's kind of made his own bed here in a good way, where he likes the strategy he's on. He's had the best raw speed of pretty much any car we've seen in the field. So we'll see if Jeff Shutt can potentially get the job done here tonight. The first one's always the hardest to get, and for Jeff Shutt this season, it seems like every time he's had the opportunity to get one, it's found a way to either zig or zag around him. But maybe not tonight. Tonight, so far, so good. He's been clean in the pits. He's been clean on the track, and he has had all the speed he has needed. But he's still got to be clean through at least one more pit stop. We know that these drivers who pit on the earlier side have to pit again. There's just no way they can make it. Jeff Shutt, of course, one of those drivers. And so as we kept our attention at the front, we'll turn it a little bit further back now. Look at some of the battling that we've got going on further back. Here's Tyler Marble. See right now he is currently side by side with the 95 of Jacob Musso. And for Jacob Musso, don't forget he got a win in one of the races that was in the playoffs. Even though, of course, he did not advance to the round of 12, so it didn't matter for him. But the 95 showing good speed, and he's really been showing good momentum since that Talladega win. You know that was going to be a confidence booster, and it's just so nice to see for the driver who we saw run with a couple teammates last season, but hasn't really had any so far this season. So it's kind of been all Jacob trying to do it by himself, as Jake Hickson with a little bit of a slider right there in front of the 95. Jacob's going to cross him back over to the inside here. See if it's enough here to potentially dive back clear through turn one. Does Hickson pin him down? No, he doesn't. Stays very respectful, gives him plenty of room on the bottom to work. But it's going to be all about that momentum up top. You see Tyler Marble going with one of his fellow playoff drivers. Jake Hickson trying to get that run and get that 16 clear to follow, but it's just not happening. Tyler's going to transition back to the bottom through the corner, then slowly washes his way back up top as they work down the front stretch. Hickson gets clear again. That time he chops the nose of the 95. Does that allow Tyler Marble to get to the inside? Not quite enough. Got really close, but just couldn't quite make it happen. There's Quentin Clark, Scott Glasso, and Austin Fitzgerald, who sits back in 10th. And you notice a lot more purple highlighted names on your scoring tower are now inside the top 10 than they were earlier. And that shouldn't come as really too much of a shock, knowing that these playoff drivers are still making it, still in the playoffs, I should say, for a reason. And it's just, each week it gets tougher and tougher. And you heard Tyler Marble actually, I like the way he put it in his interview. He said basically, you've got 7 drivers fighting for 3 spots. And you might think, well, what do you mean? It's a round of 8 and it's going to be the round of 4. Shouldn't that be 8 drivers fighting for 4 spots? Well, not really, because again, Fitzgerald, barring nothing crazy going wrong, he's pretty much locked himself in with the season he's had and all the playoff points he's accumulated. So for Fitzgerald, as long as he stays consistent, he's most likely good to go. And so that leaves just 3 spots after that for other drivers to get into that championship 4. Ty the Marble, of course, wants to be one of them. And if he's able to get a good run here tonight, which right now so far so good, then that starts to slowly but surely narrow that window down to maybe 2 spots to fight for and 6 drivers to fight for it. So it's going to get tougher and tougher over the course of these next couple weeks. If you want to advance in, the best way to do it is get a win so that you don't have to worry about any of the other parts of it. Jeffrey Souza, by the way, has closed the gap on your leader to 1.5 seconds. And he's made it even closer than that now on second place, Jeff Marble, who sits just about a half a second in front of the 96. And for Jeff, he has now shifted that line really, really high up the racetrack, searching for some grip here. And a sign that we kind of saw earlier of maybe that 15 car is starting to struggle just a little bit. Looks like Jeff's going to bring it back down to the middle lane here through 3 and 4, but Souza doesn't care. He'll continue to close here. And remember, for Jeffrey Souza, we said ideally that 96 car wants to try to get it probably within about a second of your leader before we see this final pit stop, and he's got it down to 1.3. It's getting closer and closer, but some of this traffic here, including the second place car of Jeff Marble, could that hurt his time a little bit? He's got fresher tires, and he doesn't want to over-abuse him here. We're going to hop on the onboard view and see what Souza decides to do here. See him dipping that nose out to the left just a little bit, trying to get a little bit cleaner air than the 15 of Jeff Marble, and he does so through 3 and 4. Gets him a little bit of a better run. Now he's going to dive just a little bit lower than the 15 here down the front stretch. Looks like Jeff Marble content to stay on the high side. Here we go. Looking for the dive to the inside here. Can Souza make it stick? Not yet. Looks like Jeff Marble is going to keep it on the top of the racetrack for now. Jeff doesn't necessarily have a lot to fight Jeffrey Souza directly for, but he is still fighting for that track position because every point matters, especially with Jeff, as we mentioned, being one of the drivers who's on the cut line. Look at this. The 96, Jeffrey Souza, he's going to pit here. And so he did indeed do exactly one of the strategies I was wondering if he was going to do, and that is pit when we saw one of your leaders pit. He waited till Jeff Shutt went in, and he decided to match him. So the 27 of Jeff Shutt going to make his final stop right here, 4 tires and fuel. And it looks like with Souza doing the same, and Souza, I mean, he got in the pits really good. Saw a brief lockup for the 96, very brief, but a good enough stop that as long as he doesn't have a penalty, I'd argue that he's probably going to come out pretty even here with the 27 car. And there goes the 96. He's rolling away. 27 of Jeff Shutt. He'll now start to roll as well. This is going to be tight. Who wins the race off? It's Jeff Shutt. Souza pretty close, though. We'll go back and look at that in a moment because we got some more pit stops underway up front here. And it looks like it is Team Marble iRacing along with a few others here who have decided to bring it down. Jeff Marble, Tyler Marble, GT Hawkins, Austin Fitzgerald, Ryan Haynes, Scott Glasso, and Michael Mueller. All drivers that are making their final pit stop here tonight. So for Tyler Marble, you see him in that second pit stall right there. He'll take 4 tires and fuel before he leaves his box. But it looks like it is Jeff Marble who gets the better stop. That leaves Jacob Musso, a few others out, as now we see Hickson, Danny Gutierrez, Jared Bundy. They all make their pit stops this time as well. So how do these drivers all kind of blend out now? There is Jeffrey Souza and Jeff Shutt, the true drivers battling for the lead. Jeff Shutt trying to hold off Jeffrey Souza. You see Sean Kaltenbach kind of in the mix there. That is not a car racing for position yet. They are trying to get their lap back here, which they should be able to do here momentarily. Oh, actually, they do got a little bit of a ways to go, but Jared Bundy, he looks like he made his pit stop here. Brandon Saylor has. And before we go back to that battle, Quentin Clark still got to make his stop. Alan Pajari, one of the drivers who we thought maybe has a chance on fuel, to be interesting to watch. The biggest driver, though, that we still think maybe has a chance at it, on fuel at least, is Johnny Mahalchuk. But as it stands, for Johnny Mahalchuk right now, I mean, I'm sitting here trying to kind of find just how far back he is. And for Johnny, I just don't know how far ahead he is of Jeffrey Souza and if it'll be enough. It's going to be, of course, Souza. Yeah, he's about 9 seconds ahead. So, yeah, for Johnny Mahalchuk, even if he saves fuel, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep the 9-second gap. That's not that much for drivers on fresh tires who know they're good on fuel. But you never know. We'll have to watch and see how it pans out as Continued to watch that battle between Shutt and Souza. Souza took the spot. There it is. Jeffrey Souza was able to get this spot away from Jeff Shutt. They're both on equal tires, so I think the only person that leaves left to potentially go up here and track this 96 down would be Jeff Marble. He's got a little bit fresher tires, but will that be enough? That's going to be the big question here for Jeffrey Souza. He's going to be looking to try to make this gap as big as he can, as quick as he can. And I almost think if you're the 96, you probably hope that we don't have a caution, arguably, at this point, as we're now about to be 30 laps away from the checkered flag as we officially take the 104 lap mark right there. It puts us with 31 laps to go. Quentin Clark still out in front for Riot Motorsports. No pit stop yet from the 00. He's going to have to bring it in eventually. Question is when. We said we think these drivers can go kind of at max to maybe right around lap 110. As there you see Tyler Marble, Alan Pajari, Austin Fitzgerald, and a few others in the same picture. They're trying to go around Pajari, who is a lap ahead of them there. Fitzgerald will give a lot of room to his teammate as he sneaks by on the inside. So it is now 105 of 134 laps complete. So Quentin Clark, once he makes his final stop, you got Pajari, Kaltenbach, Russo, Bill Benedict, Matthew Gieringer. Just have to make pit stops. Looks like Greg Bartlett has already made his pit stop. Cody Matthews currently sitting in 8th. Now, we did have a brief issue, it appeared, here with Scott Glasso again as he tried to work his way onto the pits. Let's watch what happens here to the number 4 car. So he's trying to get wound up. He's trying to get in really, really aggressive here. And then, ooh, car just starts to get loose on him. And that's a big, big mistake for Scott Glasso. You saw he was able to loop it. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Boy, didn't see that on the data sheet. Oh, no. Michael Mueller. That is not good news for one of your playoff drivers. 2 of your playoff drivers, I should say. But, man, Michael Mueller is not going to be very happy with that here. So we saw the spin here for Glasso. No harm, no foul there. But then it's going to be just, he's trying to get it back rolling here really quick. And it's hard sometimes to see out of the left side window. And I just don't know if he ever realizes that Michael Mueller was working his way into the pits. And for Mueller, there's nothing he could do. You see Ryan Haynes coming along, nowhere he can go either. And the biggest worry here was going to be, did it damage some suspension components for the 99 of Mueller? Whether it did or didn't, it certainly cost him a lot of track position as he is now back to 25th. Scott Glasso is back in 29th. So those guys are going to need a break. They're going to need some help, certainly, to have a chance at it at this point, as they're going to be coming to 26 laps to go. And across the line this time, Quentin Clark, still no pit stop yet. We got a couple more from a few of the drivers that were still inside the top 5. Most notably Bill Benedict and Matthew Gieringer. And that Rush 31 machine will bring it down for their final service of the night. Assuming no caution, of course. So now that leaves just Clark, Pajari, Kaltenbach, and Matthews as the cars out on track. Jeffrey Souza continues to lead the battle of the cars that have already pit. Man, for Jeff Shutt, so much speed all night. But it looks like Souza was finally able to get the best of him here in what is really the most important time to do so. But Jeff's not done fighting yet. And remember, there is still going to probably be some lap traffic in the way of these guys. And just a little bit of lap traffic at the wrong time can certainly cost Souza any sort of gap that he has created. As right now, looks like that gap that he's got between himself and Jeff Shutt is about half a second or so. And now that we've hit 25 laps to go, we are going to go ahead and take what will be our final commercial break. Stick with us. We'll be back for the finish at Las Vegas. We're back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Just 19 laps to go now in the Souza Media Las Vegas 200. Quentin Clark currently still out in front. No change there. You saw it on the nonstop. But we know that this 00 still has to make a pit stop. And then the question becomes, who else needs to make that pit stop as well? We expect Pajari to have to. And so then becomes a battle between these three. And look at this. This is something that changed while we were over break. Jeff Shutt has retaken that position away from Jeffrey Souza. How about that? Jeff Shutt, just when you think maybe he's faded back, he shows you that he's got a little bit more fight here tonight. And so for Jeff Shutt, that's a huge position to get because Jeff Marble was kind of tailing him. Jeff on slightly fresher tires. And it's still going to be a tight battle between these three, but all I'm going to say is I think that Jeff Shutt may have grabbed that clean air at the right time. Now again, before he'll really truly be out in front, he still needs a couple cars to make their final round of pit stops. And for Jeffrey Souza, you see one of those lap cars there, the 77 of Greg Bartlett, kind of hanging in between them. That's probably not necessarily helping that 96 machine, but man, now I switch back the question to Jeffrey Souza. Was it maybe not the right strategy call to pit at the same time as this 27? Should he have maybe waited and stuck with what was working, which was pitting later than these guys? Don't think it matters now, though, because look at this. Jeff Marble, he's also going to get by the 96 of Jeffrey Souza. And all of a sudden, Jeffrey Souza now looking like he's just going to try to hold on to a podium, as you've got Jake Hickson now back in 6th. He's up 23 spots from where he started this race at. Good run for Jake. GT Hawkins is in 7th with Austin Fitzgerald 8th. And you've got Tyler Marble in 9th and Danny Gutierrez currently rounding out your top 10. If you're just tuning in or you've been watching, again, we appreciate you being here. Hope you are having a good Monday evening, Monday night, depending on which part of the country you're in. As it'll be just 15 laps to go now. Still no pit stop yet from Quentin Clark. And the farthest I would realistically think he can run this is probably to about 120, maybe a little bit further, which would be pretty much, I'd say within the next handful of laps, he's going to have to make this final stop. I'd be shocked if he's able to go much further than that. Got to think this car's starting to, the fuel gauge is starting to get pretty close to empty now. I know there's a lot of drivers really hoping that this 00 hurries up and pits before a bad timed caution potentially traps them a lap down. We just saw Alan Pajari. Looks like he decided to make his stop, so that will complete his cycle for the night. And so officially, as by the way, it looks like for Johnny Mahalchuk, who sits in 12th, the fuel saving strategy will not be the winning strategy, but certainly gave us an interesting look and an interesting idea of what could have been there at about the halfway point when we saw that first pit stop for Johnny and a few others trying the fuel strategy. And so here we go. Quentin Clark finally going to bring it down. He was just under 15 seconds ahead of Jeff Shutt, but now that the 00 brings it down, this will be full service. I would expect at least full fuel and probably at least 2 tires. And honestly, I don't see why you don't take 4 at this point if you're Quentin Clark, but he's going to have to surrender that lead back up to Jeff Shutt, and that'll change the battle back around to Jeff Shutt versus Jeff Marble. We'll get to that in just a moment here. Let's see if the 00 does indeed take 2 or 4. As you're going to see the right side get lifted up, and then I would assume he'll lift up the left side as well if he's taking rights. And no, call will only be 2 tires for Quentin Clark. That's a bit of a bold strategy call there. I'm not sure how well it's going to work out as waiting as long as he did. This pushes Quentin Clark all the way back to almost outside your top 20. Meanwhile, back up front, you can see lap traffic playing havoc both in the way of the leader and getting back past the leader here as Bill Benedict's a bit faster in the 90 car, I believe, and he's trying to get back around the 27 of Jeff Shutt. Now for Jeff Marble, who currently sits in 2nd, he's got 12 laps to go. That ticket to the championship 4, it is right in front of him. Question is, can he reach out far enough to grab it here? You already see his car starting to migrate up the racetrack. The times that we've seen that here tonight seems to kind of be when that 15 starts to lose a little bit of the grip that he's looking for. But we'll have to see if maybe Jeff Shutt's car starts to fall off as well. Or does those lap fresher tires for Jeff Marble pay off at some point here, maybe at the end of the run? And for Jeff right now, I'll tell you what, for Jeff Marble that is, it doesn't actually sound like he's getting tight. It sounds more like he's a little bit loose, at least over there in 1 and 2. Let's see what he's got here in 3 and 4. And notice that he's got a 4th gear setup. Boy, that's something interesting that I wouldn't have expected here at a track like Las Vegas. Question is, does he shift here on the front stretch at all? I don't believe he would. He doesn't. That's a very interesting setup there So we've got a lot of drivers with the 4th gear setup. In fact, almost all the drivers just about. Roger Shelton, he's got a 5th gear set. But yeah, I would have expected most drivers to be on a 5th gear set here tonight, but it seems like that's not the case. Jeffrey Souza, he's on a 4th gear set. That's very interesting. Nonetheless, though, for Jeff Marble, that gap still hanging strong right around 0.4 of a second as we are now officially in the single digits for laps left in this race. Just 9 to go for Jeff Shutt to potentially grab his first win of the season. Did have one more brief issue with one of your playoff drivers here. This is going to be Tyler Marble, who currently sits in 7th. Watch this off of turn 4. We've seen this issue for a couple of drivers already here tonight. Starts to get loose. He's chasing it up the hill, chasing. Right when that car really starts to unload, just gets loose, has to go through the grass. But he's able to save it here, gets back on the racetrack, and is ultimately able to straighten it back out before he gets back down towards turn number 1. So good save for Tyler to keep most of his positioning and still keep himself at least inside the top 10. Now we're going to keep all eyes up front now the rest of the way because, again, this is a big deal for both of these guys. We already mentioned for Jeff Marble, it's a chance to lock himself into the next round. I know Jeff Shutt looks like he's frozen up there on the driver cam. That is because his driver cam did indeed freeze, but we saw him earlier. Calm, cool, and collected. Jeff Marble looking to be in the same boat right now. 2 different situations, but a win that would be equally as big to both of these drivers. And here we go. Jeff Marble has now closed in on the back bumper. Where's he going to take the run if he gets it? Looks for a little bit of a diamond there. Nothing doing. And you got to set up your runs here at Vegas, and you got to set them up smartly. You don't want to start burning out these tires, trying to dive it to the inside of the guy in front of you each and every time. Jeff worked up top, and that gives him momentum on the straights. The problem is, it seemed like it was wearing out his stuff, and he was fading too much in the corners. So he tried moving it back down, and Jeff maybe struggled a little bit that last lap, but he did better that time. And so now with just 6 laps to go, the gap will start to expand out just a little bit again. It's up to about 0.3 of a second. Jeff Shutt still running that inside line through the corners, kind of trying to paint the white, but this time it's actually a little bit higher, kind of running that late apex, if you will. And when he does that, that's just kind of less clean air for Jeff Marble to work with on entry to the corner. That's still 0.3 of a second and still some lap traffic in the picture here. That's the 99 of Michael Mueller. He'll stay on the outside. That's going to force both of these cars to choose the inside and the middle. There'll be 4 laps to go. Remember, we've got to get all the way to the white flag for this race to be official. And I think realistically, that's a flag that both of these drivers want to see, especially Jeff Shutt, but even Jeff Marble. Got to think he'd be happy with a 2nd place finish, even if he can't quite get the job done and get the win here tonight. Still 3 to 0.4 of a second that time around. These two are pretty much matching lap times just about. Show you the comparison here. And there you see it. 2 out of the last 5 laps, Jeff Marble is faster, but the last 3 laps is actually Jeff Shutt who is faster. So we'll see if that trend continues that way or if Jeff Marble's got one more burst of momentum for him here at some point. Jay Kickson still hanging in a relatively close 30s, about a 1.5 seconds back from your leader and about a 1 second back from Jeff Marble. And you've got Jeffrey Souza 4th, Fitzgerald now all the way up to the 5th spot. A lot of players that could have a chance if we get a late caution, but now just 2 laps remaining before this race will be official. 3 total to go in the race. Jeff Shutt, 0.5 seconds. Now the gap between him and 2nd place. And this is where you really dial in. This next lap's going to feel like the longest one of the season because he wants to see that white flag more than he wants to see anything right now. And boy, he is pushing the front tires off this 27 car right now. Keeps it clean there, though, and the gap closed up just a little bit again. Watch the lane he runs. How about Jeff Marble? What lane does Jeff run? Does Jeff start to push the issue here a little bit? He's trying, but he just can't get those rear tires to lock up anymore. And he'll hold that gap at about 0.4 of a second as they work into turn 3. Jeff Shutt will stay wrapping the bottom. You see Glasso and then Hickson a little bit further back. Glasso with damage, not for position. And here we go, the flag he's been waiting for. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go for Jeff Shutt to grab his first win of the season. Through 1 and 2, he gets through clean. Looks like he ran a little bit of a higher line. Does that allow Jeff Marble to close up anymore? 0.3 of a second as they work on a Neil straight for the final time. 1 more chance for Jeff Marble through 3 and 4. Does he have anything? doesn't look like it. He's tried and tried all season. He'll finally make it happen. Watch this as they cross the line. It will be Jeff Shutt who is going to grab his first win of the season at Las Vegas. How about that one for Jeff Shutt? He grabs the win. It was a long time coming, but Jeff Shutt is your winner at Las Vegas. And I do apologize here. Looks like for some reason or another, we did have a brief hiccup that led to a brief outage here. And what are the chances of the timing of that one? Oh man, how unfortunate is that? I'm looking back on the stream now, and for some reason it did not pick up. This is what we saw until it blinked out, but again, I can't confirm. I'm watching it live now for Jeff Shutt. There was nothing else that happened after this. He came through 3 and 4, came off of 4, and came home a race winner as he beats out Jeff Marble for the win here tonight. All right, we got a brief issue here. We're going to back out, join back so we can get some finishing results for you, so stick with us if we can, and if we can't come back, we'll read the results manually either way. And as a matter of fact here, I take that back. Let's see if we can do this a little bit of a different way. Yep, sure enough, we'll do it that way. Again, I do apologize to anyone tuning in. I am not sure what happened. It seemed like the server had crashed right there at the end. But nonetheless, it is Jeff Shutt who is your race winner. Jeff Marble second. And it's Jake Hickson who finishes third. Jeffrey Souza fourth. Austin Fitzgerald in fifth with GT Hawkins sixth. Jacob Musso finishes back in 7th. Tyler Marble 8th. Danny Gutierrez 9th. And Quentin Clark rounding out your top 10. Jared Bundy finishes 11th. Sean Kaltenbach 12th with Kyle Oakley in 13th. You've got Alan Bajari in 14th. Brandon Saylor in 15th. Brian Conklin 16th with Brett Spod back in 17th. And 18th, it's the BMP Racing entry of Ryan Haynes. And rounding out the top 20 here tonight, it's going to be Johnny Mahalchuk and Andrew Russo. Finishing back in 21st, Roger Shelton, Mark Zabak 22nd. Matthew Gearinger in 23rd, Bill Benedict 24th, Greg Bartlett 25th, Michael Mueller 26th, Cody Matthews in 27th, Scott Glasso back in 28th, Tai Iopolito 29th, Kenneth Bartholomew rounding out your top 30. Christian Losh in 31st, Thomas O'Hara rounds out the field as he finishes in 32nd. All right, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We will be right back at Las Vegas. All right, going to kick things off with your race winner here tonight, Jeff Shutt for No Excuses Racing. Jeff, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy.
What's Jeff? Me, Jeff?
Yes, Jeff Shutt.
Yes, yes.
Well, I mean, hey, we always got to start with the winner, and man, it has been a long time coming, especially this season. You've had a couple big opportunities, but things just haven't quite worked out. Tonight, you were the class of the field, man. How did you get that one done?
Oh, just having a green flag run and just keeping the care of the car. I'm always good on the long run. I just never can get there. It's always something happens.
Tonight, you didn't have to worry about any issues, and man, I mean, it's obviously unfortunate because we know that you made it to the round of 12, come up just short of advancing to the round of 8, but I mean, even still, grabbing that first win, now that you kind of got that chip off your shoulder, how important is this going forward?
Oh, yeah, the momentum's going to be huge. And I mean, maybe not the rest of this year, but going into next year, I'm super excited. I think I'll have at least some wins that can get me into the playoffs the way it should be. So I'm stoked to get as far as I did, but I'll take this.
Absolutely. Well, boy, it was a lot of podiums on the road to get here, but you finally capitalized. You get the job done with a great car and a great performance here tonight. So, Jeff, before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, Capital Auto Group for sponsoring me and the being a sponsor for this series and just for everybody's help. I mean, it's been an awesome year.
Certainly has. And Jeff, we appreciate you talking to us again. Congrats on the first win of the season, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, sir.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher for Team Marble iRacing. It's Jeff Marble. Jeff, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy.
Hey, how you doing, Austin?
Good. We bring home a second place finish here tonight. And at the end there, looks like you guys started trading lap times. Did you feel like there was something more you needed out of the car to get to him?
I just needed a little more rotation. I figured me pitting one lap after they did, I would have been okay. I think I upset the balance of the car by not putting enough fuel in it, so just kind of screwed myself. But it was a game of cat and mouse. He would go in one lane, I would try to go in another. I'm trying to get fresh air. He has the air until he catches a lap car. He would get loose off of 4. I would have all the momentum off of 4. It was just back and forth. It was wild, and it's been a long time coming for Jeff. It's nice to see him finally gather one.
Absolutely. And, speaking of wild, we know that these next 2 races are going to be wild, but before we get to that, I mean, you're the highest finishing the playoff drivers here tonight. We know that you were kind of one of the drivers on that cut line for the championship for as it stands right now. So how do you feel like this race kind of helps you move into some of the crazier races, more specifically Martinsville in a couple weeks?
Yeah, I was thinking about that during the race, how I should really try to really hard to win this. Not like I wasn't trying, but I mean, I was like, man, I need something to go my way to win this thing, so I don't have to worry about the next 2 races. But and it is kind of good that Jeff was not a playoff driver, so that's not one driver automatically advancing. I hate it for him because he's really good at Phoenix. So if he would have made it into this round and then made it to Phoenix, he would have been a guy to really reckon with. So the bottom line is it's a good points tonight. I would have liked to win. That way I could just kick my feet up and eat some ice cream the next 2 rounds, but wasn't meant to be. Homestead is not one of my better tracks. For some reason, I always struggle there. And of course, Martinsville is, I mean, I am good there. We've actually, the last 2 years here at FastTrack, we've had green flag pit stops the last 2 fall races at Martinsville, which is pretty damn impressive if you ask me. And whenever we did get those long runs at Martinsville, I was battling Fitzgerald, Tyler, some other guys here and there for the lead. So I got a good car. If it stays green, I do like our chances, but it is Martinsville, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's right. Well, hey, you got a good run here tonight, a good start to the round of 8. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, first, the team, we were a bunch of chatty cats before the race started about what to do for setups, gearing, adjustments here and there. Danny G, he was the one that gave me the final adjustment, and it really woke the car up. So Danny G was a big help tonight. I don't think if I didn't make that change, I don't think I would have been as good. So his little input there definitely helped. Allo Wheel Repair Splash just out of Richmond, Virginia. Jeffrey Souza and Souza Media for stepping up and sponsoring this race tonight. I appreciate whenever businesses step up to the plate and put money in your pocket, because they pay the broadcast fees and they get their name in lights for one night. And so I appreciate those guys. Bushnell Motorsports Park, Butt Kicker, iRacingHighFlag.com, Capital Auto Group with Jeff Shutt. I think I already said Alloy Repair Specialist. Ghost Racing Network, yourself. Crap, if I forgot anybody, I apologize. Thank you.
And thank you for talking to us. Well, Jeff, congrats on the 2nd place finish. Good start to the round of 8, and we will see you next week at Homestead.
Yes, sir. I'll take tonight. Good points tonight.
There you go. All right, now that's going to bring us to your final podium finisher here tonight. And for Dynamic Auto Sports, it's Jake Hickson. Jake, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, Austin, how you doing tonight?
Good. Well, man, first question is, where did you come from? I mean, early in the race, we saw you further towards the back. You kept fighting, and maybe one of the few cars, arguably, that was able to make that much progress through that much traffic. How'd you get to the front?
It was just a good setup. I mean, Austin Fitzgerald was on the same one, and he finished 5th there. So I think it was just all in the setup, right? And a little bit of luck on my side, just having good, clean turns most of the races. So, yeah, it was just a really, really fast car tonight. And the shame I qualified so far back, or I, might have been, the first one you talked to tonight.
Well, maybe not the first, but still a good finish. And, I mean, we talk about playoff drivers, only 2 that actually finished inside the top 3 here tonight. I know we got a couple of crazy races next, but you look at Homestead, it's still 1.5 miles. How do you feel about your chances there?
I really like Homestead. I think we'll bring a good set to the race next Monday, and because we'll have a good strong week of practice all week. So yeah, I feel pretty confident. Homestead's a pretty good track for all of us at Dynamics, so I think our odds in our favor.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Jake, We appreciate you talking to us. So before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I'd really like to say thank you to you, Austin, as always, for doing a great job with the broadcast. Thank you so much for what you do up there. I'd like to thank the teammates, everybody at Dynamic On Sports for doing what they do, helping us out, making these things fast, and just having a lot of fun, and all the friends and family watching at home. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you for talking to us, Jake. Again, congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you next week at Miami.
Thank you, Austin. Have a great night.
You as well. All right. That is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight of the Souza Media Las Vegas 200. Again, I do want to apologize to everyone about the finish there. I'm not sure what happened. Besides, it looked like the server crashed. But again, it is Jeff Shudd who got the win. And man, what a win it was for a driver who had been fighting for so long to get there. You like to see it. Next week, we head to our final mile and a half of the season. It'll be at Homestead. Make sure you tune in for that. Then it's off to Martinsville for an elimination race. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I hope you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on Ghost Racing Network. And until next time, have a good night.